Ladies and gentlemen,
Good evening.
Are you ready?
Okay, here we go.
You're listening to the Deal Room Podcast. Join us as we bring you the inside scoop on business sales and acquisitions. Get across trends in the area and hear the industry's best recount their real-life tips, traps, and experiences. Now, here's your host, Joanna Oakey.
Hi, this is Joanna Oakey, and you're listening to the Deal Room Podcast, a podcast proudly brought to you by our commercial legal practice, Aspect Legal. Now, today we have on the show Michael McGrath from Oasis M&A. Michael has been in business since the age of 23, spending more than 25 years building, buying and selling a range of private companies, including food, manufacturing, recruitment, publishing, retail and distribution. Michael is the founder and CEO of Oasis M&A Sydney, and he now advises shareholders of private companies around succession and exit strategies. And today, Michael is on the show to discuss with me the particular conundrum facing business owners who are selling right now or who are planning to sell in the near future as COVID-19, the dreaded coronavirus, has landed on our doorstep and changed everything that was in play just only a month or so ago in the world of mergers and acquisitions. So without further ado, here comes Mike to chat with me about what the short-term future looks like for those business owners who are planning on selling right now or planning to sell in the near future. So here we go with Mike. Mike, hi, welcome on to the show. I'm really excited to have you here today, albeit it's a bit of a serious topic that we're getting into.
Yes, no, I'm happy to be here. Thanks, Joanna.
Great. Okay. Well, Mike, today we're sitting, and our audience might be listening to this at all different times, which is the beauty of podcasts. But right now, we are sitting right in the middle of this coronavirus epidemic, and it's creating a massive amount of uncertainty in the M&A market. And so today I wanted to have you on board so that we could together, just maybe talk about what we're seeing at the moment in the market and what our thoughts are for the future for businesses who are sitting there at the point of, who are planning to sell right now or perhaps who are planning to acquire and now suddenly sitting in the middle of uncertainty.
Yeah, look, well, the first thing I'll kick off with is that we did 5 transactions in the last 6 months of last year. And I can tell you now that I've already had some communication from some of those vendors that we acted for. They are so pleased that they sold their businesses and completed those transactions.
I know, right? We just had 2 of those conversations yesterday.
So that's the first thing. And one of the companies who would have been the 6th pulled out at the last minute. Now, I haven't spoken to him yet, but it'd be very interesting what his thoughts are now, because I do think we're entering a very difficult period for any kind of transactional deal. And I think the main reason for that is that how do you price an asset in the current environment? It's almost impossible. I mean, how do you price a property? How do you price anything? So I think, and this is what we're seeing. So the genuine strategic buyers that we're talking to, we had about 9 transactions underway at various stages. With 3 of those, we're still in deep discussions with. 6 have pretty much evaporated. They were at early stages. And effectively, those acquirers are saying to us, they don't have headspace. Everything's changed. We'll come back to you. The 3 that want to keep talking to us at the moment, I guess they're looking for some certainty. So we're working with our clients to put together their sort of COVID-19 response, which is effectively, what was our year-to-date position to the end of February? What's happened since then so far, March? What does April, May, and June look like? What does perhaps the next 6 months of the next financial year look like, and how will that affect the results in 2021 rather? And then what does the post-COVID-19 environment look like for that business? Now, if you can't communicate that intelligently and logically, even if you're not exact, you just got to put your key assumptions down, make sure they're logical, make sure you believe in them, at least at this point. If you can't put that together, no one's going to do a deal unless it's some kind of giveaway,
And so I guess what we're talking about here is, because one of the issues I feel playing out at the moment is just this uncertainty, which creates this emotion or this reaction of our business owners just not knowing what to do, what next step to make, because they just have no idea what the future looks like. And I guess here we're talking about, well, regaining a little bit of control and getting a bit of insight into what you can be doing now, what you can be planning now, that will still keep you moving into the direction of the sale or the exit, or maybe even the acquisition, depending on what side of the fence it is that you're on. Yeah. And stepping back into, let's run through some really concrete examples here, because I have a number of businesses who are sitting at the point of exit, and they had either, as you say, found buyers or they were about to hit the market or whatever, all varying degrees. Yeah. But I've got a couple who were looking to sell to employees, where the employees know the business, and the business itself, I think, will be quite stable, albeit almost all businesses are suffering a shock at the moment. So for those businesses, let's just start with that as a simple example. For those businesses, I guess the message is just start to collect a bit of a list for yourself in terms of backing up for the buyers as to why the business is solid and will continue on the pre-COVID path when COVID is over. Is that what you're saying, Mike? What are you saying for these businesses?
I think so. I mean, look, in any in any economy, you're going to have winners and losers when you've got this kind of change. So some businesses, I mean, if you look at food at the moment, food's doing quite well. I'm on the board of a organic food business, and we're really doing very well. The business is very resilient. Sales are holding up insofar as, what we're expecting to see. And, we've done some pretty good work in that business to get them ready, really. I mean, not that we knew COVID-19 was coming, but just to have the business well run and with good governance and a board. And, we invested in our relationship with the bank, and the bank have been very helpful. And so I think, that would be an example of perhaps not a winner, but certainly not a loser. Mm-hmm. And I've got another couple of mining service businesses where I'm on the board, and both those are doing pretty well. I mean, one of them is doing exceptionally well because the products that it's bringing to market are technology type products that, the miners have got a great appetite for at the moment because it saves them money. So they're kind of going gangbusters, and that there's a 3 to 5 year window there to meet that need. And we're very well placed to do that. And so the issues for that business are on the supply side, not on the demand side. And then I've got a business that's in health, safety and hygiene that I've been working with for over a decade. And that business is in really good shape. It's got some good resilience. And people are still going to need health, safety and hygiene. And they've already brought 6 COVID-19 products to market that are helping businesses now, test their cleanliness and a whole, test their hygiene. So they would be 3 that I think are doing pretty well. And then, then there's a whole bunch of other businesses, right? And I think it's situational. Right. But there's quite a few other businesses that I'm involved with, 1 or 2, in fact, that have got very heavy retail exposure. Yeah. Retail's in trouble. I mean, in big trouble. They've taken the brunt of this to some extent. And so, we're in survival mode there, and we're trying to find a way through this thing. And, the government stimulus, I know that the government are sitting today to hopefully approve the job the Job Saver scheme or JobKeeper scheme, which I think is a really big deal. I'll give you an example. I've got one company that's got 75 staff. We had a board meeting, an emergency board meeting. We've had a few. The last one, with and without this, right, with this package, we'll keep all 75 staff, and everyone will take a haircut of about 20%. And we think we can save those jobs. Without that, we might have to look at some quite dramatic reductions in those numbers. So I think, the government stimulus is really going to help for the next 6 months. For SMEs, it's going to be absolutely critical. And bearing in mind, small to medium-sized enterprise are over 50% of the job market. I think we're 50. We employ 55% of the workforce. So this is a really big deal. And so I think that it's situational, but you've got to have a plan. You've got to pull together a plan and take some time out and do that. Don't wait and see. It would be Arva. I mean, I worked with a company called Dynamic, and they were in emergency crisis management. I was on the board for about 10 years and Anthony Morehouse. I was talking to him recently, who's the ex-CEO, and he's he's obviously got a background in this kind of crisis management, business resilience area. And he said, Mike, if there's one thing I could say to people, it would be time is your enemy, right? So waiting and seeing how things evolve isn't a good plan. The plan is get on with it and make some calls and take some actions, and get busy, because otherwise we get overwhelmed and the 24-hour news cycle, and we get obsessed with the negativity that's prevailing. And really what we've got to do as leaders, as business leaders, is turn up, figure out where we are, figure out what might be coming next. Even if we're not quite sure, you've got to put something down.
Yeah.
And how soft, the question we're asking is, how soft will this be for this business in this market? Is it 20% down? Is it 30% down? And we've seen anything from 10% down to 85% down. We haven't seen zero anywhere yet. But if you'd said to me 6 weeks ago that we would be looking at an 85% softening in any business, I would have kind of I just wouldn't have thought that was credible. But there's many businesses seeing that now. If you look at retail, we're seeing, we saw 40% down last week, like for like, year on year. In one business, we've seen 85% down in a supply business that's heavily exposed to retail, that's really looking at virtually nothing going on in this next quarter.
So then let's get really practical. How is that? And is that a business that was gearing up for exit?
Yes.
In the short-term future? Right.
We have two kinds of clients, right? Well, probably three, but client number one is the guy that just wants to sell. He's made his mind up. We go to the market and it's a sell-side mandate. That's our bread and butter. We do that all day long. There's another kind of client that's saying, look, I need to do something. Can you help me with strategy? Over the next 3 to 5 years, I've got to exit. So that's and that would be in that category. So the business I just referred to would be in the open to that kind of strategic outcome, but not looking to do it tomorrow, right? So, and then there's the guys that are just looking for advisory strategic input. So, but certainly the guys who are selling at the moment, if anything isn't contracted, it's evaporating.
Although I must say we've still got a couple of deals moving at the moment that are in the most extremely impacted industry. So it surprises me that they're still moving. But I think, sometimes sophisticated buyers who know what they're looking for and unusually are still actually moving, which I find is unusual. But it's great that there's still a little bit in the market that's still moving, but mostly it's all come to a standstill. So if we're just focusing just for now on the sell side mandate clients that you're working with at the moment, so they're the ones who, right at this moment, the short-term goal of sale obviously is immediately impacted. What are you talking to them about right now? What's the strategies that you're giving them?
Well, if I take one who's exposed to retail in the kind of heating area, we've got a very acquisitive strategic acquirer based out of Ireland, and they have said to us, look, we're very keen. We wanted to get this wrapped up by the end of June, but we want to now push it to the end of September. But we still want to do this deal, and we still want to do it on the terms that we've agreed. Now, I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, right? Because, no one knows. But they've intelligently pushed it out for 3 months. Our client's happy with that. We've invested very heavily with this acquirer, and they seem like the right sort of person to be acquiring this business. Now, what shape are they going to be in themselves? It's a $1 billion business that's global with many good reasons to own our client's asset. Now, we're hopeful, but I wouldn't be surprised if it changed again, if something changed. The terms could change, the timing could change. Now, what does a client do in the meantime? I think they just roll out a 3-step plan, and they just say, okay, how soft is sales going to be in Q4? What's going to happen in Q1 and 2? What's our response to that? Is it logical? Does it make sense? Are we acting in the interest of the business and the stakeholders? Are we using all the government stimulus we can? And then how do we expect our products and our services to fare FY21 in a slightly different environment? And I think if you put that together in 8, 10, 12 slides, and you've done some work and you write the assumptions down, then I think that's the kind of conversation that you can have with a buyer. Who's going to be reassured by that. And that's what you should do, really. You should run your business as if you're going to own it forever. That's not a bad mantra. And you should plan like this thing's not going to happen. And I think buyers get reassured by that kind of management.
And I think implicit in what you're saying right now is keep up the communication. Okay, so they don't want to continue right now. We're on hold for a few months, hopefully just a few months, but keep up the communication with the buyer, keep communicating about your plan.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, touching base, connecting, just checking in. I think you don't want to over communicate because there's a headspace issue. The reason why they don't want to do the deal now is because they've got bigger fish to fry. And frankly, so have you. But certainly you want to keep connected. And if you've got an intermediary, that's our job. Our job is to, we responded, I was on the phone the other night to Dublin about it. So we got a good relationship. We know where we are. We know where they are. They're straight shooters and so are we. So if that deal can get done, we'll get it done. Right? If it's possible, we'll get it done. And we got another deal with a guy in WA we've got an American acquirer looking to buy the business. Now, the business is really about some IP. So they've got a particular product. It's very valuable, potentially. Our client's very small business that's IP rich versus a very large acquirer. And we think the fundamentals for that deal are still strong because the acquirer is going to leverage that IP across its bigger business. But they've started to try and renegotiate the price. And we've said we don't believe there's a basis for that at this point, and that we won't be entertaining that. And they've then said, okay, well, we don't have time anyway at the moment. So until the foreseeable, we'll come back to you. But at the moment, we're not proceeding at this point. Now, I don't know where that's going to go. I have no idea. And I could go on. But I would say most deals, the rule is if it's not contracted at the moment, the probabilities of a transaction have diminished significantly, right? And we do have buyers who are talking a good game and saying, Mike, we've got a strong balance sheet. I spoke to a New Zealand company the other day. I know the chairman quite well. He said, Mike, we've got a strong balance sheet. We see this as an opportunity. Please bear us in mind. Now, that sounds good, right? But between you and I, Joanna, and I really like this guy, I just don't think that even if I brought him something fantastic, he would do a deal in the next 3 months.
Yeah, I think you're right about the next 3 months, but I have to admit, an optimist at heart. Yeah. But I really have a very strong feeling that there will be a lot of, when there's a little bit more certainty in the market that we're moving to the other side. Yes. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity here for opportunistic, acquisitions for, because the fundamentals of many of these businesses that are suffering stress at the moment, fundamentally may not have changed for someone who is sophisticated and knows what to do with the business and to fund it, appropriately to get them up and running again.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yes. I mean, this might be the other side, right? Maybe we'll start to see a flurry of, there's cheap capital at the moment.
Yes.
So,
yes.
How will that feed? What's your thoughts about that? How that plays out and how quickly it might play out?
Yeah, well, look, I think you're right. I think that, I think this quarter will be the softest quarter on record, right? I mean, I just don't think there's much going on. I think as you move, depending how, if we can really flatten this curve and keep it down and we can start to move back to some kind of more normal, if not completely normal way of doing business, July, August, September in that quarter, then I think you can start to see who's coming out. And I think they will be opportunistic largely, or there'll be people that see an opportunity to grab market share. And I think that will go on. And look, certainly I've been surprised by the recent stock market rally. We had that correction where, we saw a 38% dip in the All Ords at the peak. And, we've rallied since there by about 17%. And that surprised me. And the same's going on the Dow as well. In the US. So I'm surprised at the optimism there, but the markets are probably sharing your view that this is very short term and that there are that good companies with good stories are going to emerge from this and do okay. I guess because of my exposure to the small to medium sized enterprise world, I'm much more cautious really about what the post COVID-19 environment could look like, particularly if we've got some high unemployment. I saw the CEO of Westpac the other morning was talking about unemployment levels. So he was talking about unemployment. I mean, his senior economist was talking about 17 or 18% unemployment prior to that second stimulus package. With the stimulus package, the recent stimulus, they've revised that down to 9%. Now, I think if we can keep unemployment in single digits, that will be a fantastic achievement.
Yeah.
Now, that's still high by historical standards in Australia. But so, that worries me. I mean, I get worried because when you see unemployment like that and you start to see the demand side softer, your average SME doesn't have enough strength in the balance sheet to withstand that. And as soon as the stimulus stops, then I think you're going to find out who can swim and who can't swim.
Yeah.
And that, I'm worried about that. But deals will always get done. I mean, it's the nature of the free market. So
absolutely,
you're right, but it'll be different, I think. And I think deal structures will change. I think that where there's uncertainty, that'll get built into the price and the structure of a deal. And I see some earnouts where buyers will say, well, okay, Joanna, I like your business and I share your optimism, but let's just, if you're right, then I'll pay you when you're right. I won't pay you all now. And I think there'll be a lot of that kind of structured stuff going on. But, the fundamentals are that we've still got a plethora of baby boomers who are going to have to sell their businesses in the next 10 to 15 years. And that's a fact. Yeah. So there's going to be, either they're going to sell them or they're going to close them down, but something's going to happen because you will exit your business. I mean, that is just the law of nature. Yes. At some point. Hopefully not too soon.
I think, not wishing to harp on the optimistic side, but the one other side, that I've had a number of recent conversations about is perhaps the potential benefit for people who are looking to exit in the falling Australian dollar. So, if we're able to find, because, a lot of people I'm talking to are saying that a lot of offshore investors are now looking at Australia with, this mind for the positive impact for them as buyers for the Australian dollar impact. Yes.
Look, Joanna, I share that optimism. I mean, can I give you just an anecdote? And I don't want to kind of pour cold water on it, but
I feel like we're arguing for. I like it.
Know.
This is a lovely amount of tension here, Mike.
Look, Joanna, I had a conversation with an American buyer on behalf of a client the other day, and we put that to him, and he put straight back to us, but the earnings are no longer as attractive as they were. But there's always a smart ass, but certainly Australian assets are going to be cheaper. For anyone who's got US dollars. Yeah.
All right. So I think it's good. We've had a few ideas on both sides of the fence. Where we end up.
Well, I hope you're right and I'm wrong.
But the point is, because none of us know what the future looks like, I guess, from either of our viewpoints, the action plan is the same. Have an action plan, Don't just sit in overwhelmment. Don't just sit from the side of the fence just waiting. Put together a plan, any plan.
Yeah. And look, a lot of people say to me, oh, well, we don't know what's happening one day to the next. How can I put a plan together? But unfortunately, this is your watch. You're in charge. You've got to put something together. And you're looking for data points that support a view. It's not necessarily that, it's going to happen, but I'll give you an example. We looked at, when we looked at that food business with you, it was a particular, so we deal in confectionery and other type products. And one of the things that I got the owner to do was to check how these particular products had fared in previous recessions. Now, does that mean it's going to happen like that going forward? Probably not, but it's something that you can, and you're looking for those kinds of data points. We looked at, a direct marketing business recently that was producing certain kinds of products. And when we looked at the environment in recessions for marketing, because marketing is an area that gets turned off very quickly in any kind of recession or any kind of squeeze. But in fact, it's the above the line that gets turned off, which is the television, the radio, all that kind of branding stuff. The below the line stuff, the leaflets, the brochures, the point of sale, that often is, people continue with that. So again, we use that as an example and say, okay, let's go and test that. And I think you're looking to just paint a picture. That's all. And, the one-eyed man in the kingdom of the blind is in charge, Joanna. So, you might not have it all down, but if you've got some idea, then that's better than nothing and sitting on the fence, I think.
Mike, I absolutely love it. I just want to say a massive thank you for coming onto the podcast today.
Pleasure.
I think that's just a great takeaway to end with our listeners. But look, if any of our listeners are interested in getting in touch with you, perhaps to get a bit of a roadmap for, what an action plan could look like for them at the moment, how can they get in contact with you?
Sure. I mean, by all means, you can email me at michael@oasismna.com.au, or you can jump on the website. And I've got a good team. We're going to have a very quiet quarter, but we're busy trying to make friends. We're not doing any selling at the moment. I mean, that's my only instruction to my advisors has been no selling, guys, because it just makes no sense at the moment. So we're looking for ways where we can be of service. We've got a lot of advisory clients that we're working with that has kept us pretty busy. We've just switched and pivoted to that board work that I mentioned. But we're more than happy to take some calls and chat people through what we've been doing and what we think has been resonating and making sense. We've certainly helped clients meet the banks. We're good at that kind of, we're helping them with any kind of right sizing negotiations. So that's the kind of stuff that we see us getting increasingly involved in over the next 6 or 9 months.
That's absolutely brilliant. Okay, well, thanks, Mike. We'll have you back on the show very soon. And in fact, any of our listeners who are interested, Mike and I are going to have a discussion on Talking Law that will be talking all about coronavirus and what it means for your business and how owners can take practical steps, how they should talk to their banks, staff, other stakeholders, and how they get on top of their numbers. So if you're interested in that, then look out for Mike and I on Talking Law. Well, that's it for our episode today with Michael McGrath from Oasis M&A. And I think one of the key takeaways for me from the discussion was this great phrase, time is your enemy, speed is your friend right now. So the speed of reacting and planning for the future, I think, is one of the important survival mechanisms and the mechanisms for business to put in place to make sure that they are properly and appropriately positioned for still selling their business on the other side of this COVID crisis. Now, if you'd like more information about this topic, to see the discussion with me and Mike in a full transcript, if you're so inclined, or if you'd like to be able to get the contact details of Mike McGrath at Oasis M&A, well, then just head to our show notes or to our website at thedealroompodcast.com. As I said, there we will be linking to Mike McGrath and Oasis M&A. And there at that website, you will also be able to contact our lawyers at Aspect Legal if you or your clients would like any assistance, not just with the sale or acquisition of a business, which might not be key in your mind right at this second, but we also assist businesses in making sure they make it through this coronavirus crisis strong and out the other side. In addition to our M&A legal services, also have lawyers who deal in employment law, leases and with contracts, so can deal with the myriad of issues that are coming up for businesses right now through this crisis. Well, that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening in, and I want to take this note to wish you in your business, wherever you're sitting right now, all the best in these crazy times. As you heard from this discussion, I am an optimist, and I think we'll all come through the other side, perhaps with businesses that look slightly different, but maybe with different ideas and opportunities at the other end. But until then, stay safe, and I'm wishing that you make it through the other side strong. And that's a wrap. You've been listening to Joanna Oakey and the Deal Room Podcast, a podcast proudly brought to you by our commercial legal practice, Aspect Legal. See you next time. Aspect Legal has a number of great services that help businesses prepare for a sale or acquisition, to help them prepare in advance and to get transaction ready. We've also got a range of services to help guide businesses through the sale and acquisitions process. We work with clients both big and small and have different types of services depending on size and complexity. We provide a free consultation to discuss your proposed sale or acquisition. So see our show notes on how to book a time to speak with us, or head over to our website at aspectlegal.com.au.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.
Thanks for listening to the Deal Room Podcast. To find out more about this episode and other episodes in the series, check out the show notes or head over to our website at thedealroompodcast.com.au.